Lyra and Will find allies who can help them in their search for Will's father. The Magisterium learns something shocking, and Mrs. Coulter meets a formidable foe. Hello, everybody. I'm Steve from VALHARTV, and today I'll be reviewing his Dark Materias, Episode 6, Malice. Now, there's a lot that goes on in this episode. We open up the episode with the witches. They land in the mountains, and they end up talking about who's going to go find Azrael and who's going to go find Lyra. So we see them split up, and we end up going to a scene where Lyra is taking care of Will because he's sick. So Will's not doing so good in this episode, and, as she's trying to take care of him, the girls from the previous episode come back, the children do, and they're going to kill them for Will taking the knife. And so they have to flee the city and continue their journey to find Will's father. So I thought that was a pretty good whole episode scene, because of the fact that it's starting to show that because Lyra and Will have been through so much together, they're starting to bond more. They're starting to really trust each other more. And that plays in throughout the whole episode, which I thought was pretty good. So we see Lee and the shaman, Japari, fly through the doorway to Chitagazi. So I thought that was pretty cool because they're trying to find the knife bearer. So they end up flying through the doorway and to a whole new world, and they literally remark about how it's completely different from theirs. And we also see Mary, who's exploring the city after she's walked through the gateway. So she's exploring the whole city, and she ends up running into the children, and she asks about Lyra. So, there's a whole nice little scene back and forth with them where the kids are like, amazed that a adult is walking around and not getting attacked by the specters. So it's some, and they haven't seen adults in quite a while. So I was actually felt pretty, that scene really kind of pulls at your heartstrings because, Mary's got a choice to make, at this point too, again, where she needs to go find Lyra and Will, but she's talking to these kids who are literally all alone. And so she's got to make a decision, after she meets these girls. So again, yeah, I thought that whole scene was pretty good. Mrs. Coulter and Carlo, they arrive in the town and start exploring. And as they go through, Mrs. Coulter, she is amazing. Ruth Wilson is amazing as this character. They go through and explore, and you see Mrs. Coulter really start to light up in this episode, where she's starting to learn about what these specters do to people, and it really comes together later on in the episode. We end up getting a shot of the Magisterium, who, again, they learned something really shocking, that they end up sending 3 Zeppelins through the doorway to this new world to find Mrs. Coulter, basically, and stop her and, what she's looking for. And I thought that was pretty cool, because at first they were divided on if they wanted to, deny its existence or keep going and just exert power over, over the situation, stating that, they have everything under control. So this is really good, where they're getting scared now because something, is coming, and they don't like it at all. So that was a really good scene. And then one of the best scenes in this, I think it's the best scene in this whole entire episode, is Mrs. Coulter is walking down an alleyway, and as the picture shows, she's surrounded by specters. And this is where her supervillain status really gets confirmed. She is delighting in all of this. And then we end up getting a really good dialogue sequence with her and Carlo. And this is just where she is shows like she's really sinister, and when she wields her power, she can be absolutely scary, and this episode confirms that. And it's just, dude, she doesn't, she never ceases to amaze me. This whole episode is really her moment to shine as a villain, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the whole part with Mrs. Coulter in this episode. It was fantastic. And then we, basically at the end of the episode, we see Lee and them try to outrun the Magisterium Zeppelins. So we end up getting a sky battle-ish type sequence as they're trying to get away. I mean, you get a storm, you get like a whole bunch of birds, and we also get to see the specters more in this episode, which I thought was really cool. So the effects for this episode were actually really well done. I liked I liked all of it. So, just because of the fact that we do get to see the specters more, and we also get to see, a storm that Lee's trying to fly through, which is really great. And we also get Lee and Japari swapping sarcastic one-liners in the hot air balloon before any of that happens, which is really funny because they're just going back and forth bantering like they're kind of like old friends. Every time Lee says something, the shaman gets back with another one-liner, so it just keeps going back and forth, which is pretty funny. Lyra and Will in this episode are really good as well, because they're trying to figure out, like, Will's trying to figure out who he can trust and who he can't. And Lyra is trying to tell him that he can trust their new allies, but he's still not convinced, and he wants to find, his father. So throughout this whole episode, I thought the best part of it was that they kept Lyra and Will bonding throughout the whole thing. They kept going along, bantering back and forth, and bonding with each other to trust each other more. So I thought that was probably the best underlying part of all this, because there is a lot of stuff, again, that happens in this episode. This is a lot of plot driven. This is plot driven, like quite a bit. So there is development here for the plot and everything, because it's all coming down to episode 7. And I honestly cannot wait to see episode 7. And Mrs. Coulter in this episode, again, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. She's really kind of scary, in my opinion, for the way she wields her power in this episode. It's crazy. I cannot wait to see episode 7. I would give this another 9 out of 10, just for the simple fact that Mrs. Coulter really did such an amazing job in this episode. Well, Ruth Wilson did a really fantastic job as Mrs. Coulter in this episode. So if you guys like what I do, please hit the like button and also subscribe, as I'll be doing more content each week. And also leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this episode, please. I'd love to hear about it. Take care for now, everybody.